Hello, beautiful souls. This is Quinn Curtis, and you are listening to Joyful Living. And today we are joined by a very special guest, one of my friends and a total absolute soul sister, who is Rainbow Mars. And she is just an incredible woman. I'm excited for you guys to get to listen to her and glean some wisdom and insights from her vast experience and just her heart and soul. And so, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and welcome you onto the show, Rainbow, and then I'll go ahead and tell everybody a little bit more about you. But welcome. We're so happy to have you here.
Hi, thank you for having me. And I am tuning in from the beautiful island of Hawaii right now. So it's a privilege to be able to be in my favorite place on the planet and share with you, Quinn, and your amazing community. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. I love that you're bringing that Hawaii vibe into this conversation because, oh my gosh, it's so needed and so valid. So, I'm going to go ahead and let me just share you with everybody listening a little bit more about Rainbow. She's, I swear, the kind of person that when you look at all that she's created and experienced in her life, it's like she's been here for like 5 lifetimes in one lifetime. You maybe have felt that way too, Rainbow, but you've just done so many amazing things and have been a part of a lot of incredible projects. And so, just a little bit about Rainbow. She is a celebrity health and wellness advocate, and she's an author and an activist. She actually has sold millions of yoga DVDs worldwide and has been featured by Good Morning America, The View, Access Hollywood, E! And The Doctors. And her 21-day Superstar Cleanse, which we're going to talk about a little bit later because it's just such a powerful, potent, exciting project that she's just barely launched into the world, and we're so grateful for. It's been endorsed by a lot of notable names, including David Duchovny, Woody Harrelson, James Cameron, Josie Moran, Russell Simmons, Moby, and more. And on a other side note, just getting to know Rainbow a little bit deeper, she is actually a mother of one beautiful daughter and two goddaughters, and she is certified in Ayurveda. And she was born into like a healing type of atmosphere and community already, and then has spent the past 20 or more years working herself professionally in that community. And she has a lot of wisdom and experience both in helping people to find health on a really deep powerful level, and also to find happiness. So we are just so humbled and grateful for your wisdom and experience, and thrilled to have you on the show, Rainbow. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you. What a beautiful introduction. I really appreciate it.
Ah, yes, my pleasure. And now I get to put you in the hot seat. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, let's do it.
So fun. Okay, so my first question that I always ask all of our guests, and a lot of times I keep it a surprise, and I'm so excited to see. But one of the big points that we stress here on Joyful Living is the fact that joyful living and living in joy is something that is very personal to each of us, that it's not necessarily a one-size-fits-all type of a situation. And especially a lot of what we work on and talk through in each of the episodes is kind of undoing a lot of the maybe societal pressure and conditioning that a lot of us have been raised in and have received about happiness equals X, Y, and Z. When you're thin and rich and powerful and the best mom and your house is clean and your kids are perfect and you have the greatest marriage, then you can be happy. And so we're really demything all of that about, well, what about joy now? And what about all of those pieces not being inherently bad? They're good things, but what if they can happen as a natural result of just you living in your joy? And so the big question I love asking each of our guests is, what does joyful living look like for you? We want to understand, what is Rainbow's flavor of joyful living, because each of our flavors is different, and though there could be similar themes, we really like to get a taste. It's always so educational. So what would
Yeah,
you say?
just having peace, peace of heart
Hmm.
to really to be completely happy in this moment again and again where we're at, and to, at one point, my work is to annihilate the distraction, anything that distracts me from that. So whether it's fear or doubt or anger or judgment, or just constantly watching how these things like viruses are in the minds and keeping me sometimes from my ultimate state of happiness. And I must say, I feel ready to be able to talk about these things. I think even if you would have gotten me 10 years ago when I was the face of Adidas. And, I taught a lot and I was given a pretty big voice, but I would very much not be stable in the connection that I had of happiness. It was very dependent on, the country or the moment or the day. And it was a lot. And so
Mm.
I feel like I have some things to share about, yeah, finally having found some peace. So, yeah.
I love that you're anchoring it to peace, and I love that you're tying it in with that past experience. I mean, you've definitely lived and experienced many sides of this conversation, right? And so just that point out, I would just like to emphasize what you were saying about how even when you were the face of Adidas, like it was still a tenuous situation. And it's so interesting. I think that a lot of us can relate in a lot of levels, as far as that we are, the face of our families, or we're the face of our
Mhm.
community, or whatever it is that we are kind of the face of. And it makes it really, it can make it almost a situation that invites some superficial
Mhm.
parts, right? Because it's impossible for any of us to be like the face all the time
Mhm.
in a positive light, or I don't know if
Yeah,
that's
that's
even
a
the right
great
way.
yeah, that's a great way to put it. We have a mask that we wear, whether it's because people are paying us. And it wasn't just so it was that I was, traveling. I went to 35 countries in a few years, and it was just constantly
Wow.
being on, and in the time in between. Or you could relate it to, raising your family and having to be the president of the school PTA, or driving a bus. It really doesn't matter what we're doing, that it's like when we're done, when we kind of come home and hang our hats or our coats and take off our shoes, where are we then? And,
Mm.
being able to bring some light into that at one point, and where you're like, wow, I something has shifted, where there really is, this happiness, this consistent happiness. And I would also just add, with peace, that I've also been able to redirect who I'm working for, and that's been really helpful.
Mm.
A lot, of that. Some of that, just like not putting myself in the center, but putting something bigger in the center, keeps me in my why that you've shared with me, Quinn. Keeps
Mm.
me, my why, having something much bigger than us, allows us to continue to wake up for something, and to it just somehow allows us to be happier. It allows us, because we are opening our hearts, and the same place that we are giving from is the same place that we receive from. And when we're in that, it's amazing how we can all of a sudden go, wow, I'm happy. Like I'm not
Wow, yeah.
depressed anymore, and I'm not smoking pot anymore, and I'm not using
Mm.
sort of food or drugs or whatever else people do, people, sex, to sort of fill a void that has to do with something that really doesn't move us towards what we're really looking for. Is everyone is wanting peace and happiness. And by the way,
Mm-hmm.
everywhere you go around the entire world, it's always the same. It's like that you could speak
Mm.
a different language or look different, but we all really want that, which is our happiness and our peace and health.
Oh, I love it. And honestly, this is definitely a point that makes me so passionate about this topic, is that this really is the root of what we're all looking for. And there's so much set up in our systems and in society that puts it out of reach and puts it in like external power to have it, right? So it's like, oh, well, when your situation is better, when you have that thing you want that's outside of you, then you get the happiness. And so I'd love for you, if you wouldn't mind, sharing a little bit about your story about how this has turned more inward, because I know it has, and I know there's definitely some personal and sacred parts of that. You don't feel free to share what you're comfortable with, but
Yeah.
I think it's a really powerful lesson to hear and understand.
Well, yeah. One thing I just feel like adding is that, just because, I don't know if you even know, you might know this about me, but I was born in a teepee under a double rainbow, and my parents were hippies.
I love that. I didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
So I was born where there was a lot of, like, I was raised around a community, both in Boulder and Kauai, where there was a lot of, um, a lot of breaking the rules, but I would say whatever the rules are, whoever chooses, those are rules. But I would say, God, I don't want to blame my mom, but the word pink spirituality comes up, where it was a lot of like, oh my God, my mom was the biggest hippie in Boulder. So I really never talked about God. I was definitely not spiritual. My heart was very closed in a way, and I, was as preppy as I could be, and I wanted to fit in as much as I possibly could. Like most people,
Right.
that we just want to fit in. We want to be normal. So there was a survival mechanism that became a very arcing, an arcing aspect of my psyche, and I didn't. My career has been really wonderful, but you can never equate. That's something that you can never say, oh, I want to get this job, or I want to, have this film, or whatever it is that you want to do. It's, I just find 100% of the time that equates to the inner work that you're doing. If you really want something, if you're really good at something, they find you. So like, how much do you really want to do it? If you're like, I want to be a surfer, or I want to be the best parent ever, it's just putting in the work. It's not like someone's out there waiting for the reward. But anyway, I found yoga.
Amen. I love it.
I found yoga really for the physical benefits in the beginning, and then slowly, just really, really, it started to overflow into my psyche, into my life. I changed the career that I was in, which I was in acting and I was modeling, and I actually sort of shifted to go like, God, this is what's really important. There was this thing that happened when I was on the mat. I think the first time I was like in a hip opener, and I started sobbing, and I realized that, I had to have this body for the rest of the time I was here, at least, that I wasn't going to like burn through it and just get a new one. And I couldn't be drinking coffee at midnight and like working at a Gold's Gym. Like I was like, I don't care. I need to learn to love myself, whatever age, whatever weight, whatever job, and whatever it is that I have outside of myself, I need to get that. And, yoga helped me immensely. So in order to do that, I not only did yoga 2 times a day, but I also folded blankets at the yoga studio. I swept the floors, and there was something very purifying that brought me. And anyway, I feel like I've gone down a whole rabbit hole, but I will come a little more to present time, which said, so because of that inner work, I was given some pretty interesting jobs. They weren't what I thought I was going to be doing, but it was like, sure, I'll go do videos in Hawaii, so on and so on. A lot of modeling in the yoga realm came to me. And I at first was like, but I'm not a yoga teacher. It was confusing. But then things came to me because I thought, well, because this practice is giving so much to myself, and maybe I will share it. So it's interesting. I guess the moral of that story is like how sometimes surrendering to the things that actually come to you, despite the things that you think that you want, can be part of your life dharma. Had I continued to say no to that, which I did in the beginning, I would have missed such a rich dimension of what I was to learn and what would eventually become part of my practice. So years later, just to get you to present moment, was that in all the teachers that I found and all the internal practice that I found, never to teach it, but only to look for self-love, to look for that peace, to look for that happiness. Also, the physical benefits were great, that it strengthens your muscles and helps you feel more free and flexible and just open. And it aligns your bones, and I could go on with that. But I'll just say that I finally realized that I wasn't happy. I could put my feet behind my head. I could do these really deep back bends, and I had a really great job, and I bought a house, and I wasn't happy, and I was actually really depressed in between the times that I was in that mask, when I was playing that role, when I was doing my job. And I eventually met a teacher, and I started studying, through the Inkari.us people, and I started studying about the death of the ego, and how, the egos that we have the Buddhists say we have 84,000 egos, whatever religion you're in. But to make this as short as possible, but this has been 9 years of study, is mystical death, spiritual rebirth, and serving God, I call it also serving Mother Earth before ourselves. And in the beginning, I was like, I don't have any egos. Like, I have a good career. I don't have any egos. And little by little, I started to witness them. And so we observe, analyze, and comprehend those egos. And when you do that psychoanalysis to yourself, and you start to watch things that are like little cockroaches in your house. Like, okay, just because you don't see it, they're not there. but you start to awaken to like, oh wow, that's another ego, and there's another one, and the more you kind of
Mm.
take it on, like you're like, wow, this is a whole little world that I need to clean up, I need to deal with. So whether it was anger or lust or greed or whatever it is, selfishness, right now I'm dealing with fear and doubt. By actually taking that on, and like with my mental, meditation is really helpful, but like with my mental essential oils that I'm cleaning with and my rag,
Mm.
I am focusing on getting rid of the bugs. And so there's some meditations that I do specifically for that, but by observing, analyzing, and comprehending, even writing them down, by getting rid of what is in the way rather than avoiding it, there is amazing new space that is freed up for us, and it's really powerful.
I love that insight. And I think one of the powerful points in what you were just sharing is that a piece of being able to get rid of what is blocking the happiness and the peace is seeing it. So it's like you were saying, you weren't even seeing it before, and then as you've become more given yourself to the practice and surrendering, then you've been able to see those pieces, those ego pieces that have been standing in the way, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm. So, so powerful. And I love, I could just probably take you down that rabbit hole even more because I love it so much. But I want to also get to, you said such a powerful thing in some our previous, emails as we've been exchanging that I am like dying to get to this topic because I think it's so powerful. But you're saying to have the willpower to stop doing what's making us sick and breaking our hearts. Would you expound on that? I'm so excited to talk about that with you.
It's funny because, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit the same subject, which
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of, but the job. I mean, if each of us were like awoke as a Christ, awoke as someone who was, what is a Christ, like to crystallize that which is dark in us into light. If we were all that, everywhere, we'd
Mm.
be living in a much different world. But to but instead we are truly living in the world of the I, and the world of the defined by greed, defined by, oh, if I just can have that, by external attachment. Oh my God, now I have all of these riches and now I need to protect it from everyone. A lot of
Mm.
anger, a lot of jealousy, so much jealousy, so much, not wanting each other to thrive. And so really when I talk about what's making us sick, you could coordinate that to French fries, but who's not going to eat French fries sometimes, or ice cream. And yeah, like when I eat those French fries or ice cream, my liver is like, why did I do that? Like it doesn't feel good in my body as much as I can't just eat just one. I'm sorry, like I'll eat the whole basket.
Me
But
too.
it's the same with the other stuff. It's the same thing when we get into a
Mm.
tangent of being jealous of someone and not seeing someone who we love maybe, or someone who we don't love, in their highest good, and then kind of getting on a rampage about it. That same sort of energy the negative energy that we are putting outward is also hurting our liver, and it's breaking our hearts. Working too hard, not having the time to meditate. My friend Russell Simmons always says, if you don't have 20 minutes, you need 4 hours. So taking the time to just close your eyes and look at it. And all of a sudden, I always have a couple things that I'm working on a day that I know are making me sick. And I am not a master to the point where I can be like, I'm just, meditating on fear and just go, okay, I'm not going to have any fear for the entire next 21 days. But I can start to catch myself and like notice when you're just at that point where it's about to come up, go, fear is something that we often are worried about, but it actually never happens. But what it does to our bodies is it is really very toxic to our kidneys. And if our kidneys are suffering, so is our voice. If our voice is suffering, there are
Mm.
all these, it's all, everything is an option every day, what we choose. And to be able to actually say, let's I did fear, but we'll just use anger as a better example in a way, because it's just
Mm.
really easy
Yeah.
to say, okay, I'm upset right now, and I can allow anger to just fully take me over and rage, and then yeah, that is going to have immediate attack on the liver, which is going to also affect just the heart, absolutely. And I could stop myself and I could sit about it and I could meditate on it and I can wait until I can come from a place of calm. If I can't, because it's something that needs to be done quick, I can have a moment there's some anger there, but not rageful. I don't need to let it take over my body because, oh my God, then you go to enjoy some part of your life. You go to, I don't know, go on a walk or go in the pool. Sometimes it closes your heart so much where you're like, I don't feel like it anymore. You're just
Yeah.
angry and you're just depressed and you're like, I want a cigarette, which is only going to make you, it's only going to be the cycle of the more. After the cigarette, you're like, I need some coffee. So it's amazing how there's a whole downward spiral that we're not even worried about. We don't even notice. And yet every day I meet people and they're like, I just want to live life. And they're like, double fisting beers and they're smoking cigarettes. And I'm just like, that's me. Like, ultimately, again, I can either get sick in that moment by judging that person, or I can go, oh, my brother, I love you. Let me, that you're me. I mean, I can even just think that and just go one day, just hold space and just go, okay, I want to find real happiness. I don't know. You could use every example, but I do know. So that's what I'm practicing. And that's, incredible, and it's an opportunity for all of us. Happiness is not something you need to buy in a bottle. It's not a pill. I think that the pills that people take for it, it's so interesting that on antidepressant medication, one of the biggest side effects that I've read in a lot of the bottles is suicide, like tendency to want to kill yourself. So clearly, because what happens is it's so toxic to the liver. So it gives you a synthetic sense of happiness, but it's destroying your liver. And if eventually your liver and your organ system isn't healthy, then you're not going to find the true happiness, which is going to be by getting the stuff that's cluttering the psyche out of the way and actually demonstrating some type of control and learning something, a yoga, learning deep breathing, learning something that keeps you from reacting, and learning how to process but also stay calm inside and stay in your heart, even through the different emotions that are going to come up in life. But this is the beauty of this, I would just finish with saying, is it's such a great possibility. Through this we earned and we enjoy our happiness when you go, God, you know what? I haven't been enraged, or I haven't attacked anyone or been jealous. And who knows? Maybe it starts with a week, or maybe eventually it's a year. And then you're like, I deserve this happiness. We're going to Hawaii. I'm just kidding. But something like that. The rewards are really great, so.
Yes. Oh, I love it. You said so many golden nuggets in there that I'm like still soaking in, but I loved that connection with French fries, and like not being able to eat the same thing is the same as like those toxic patterns and beliefs and our tendency to choose that. And so I know that with all that you just shared, it was so powerful and so yummy. I know that, no matter how many times we have these conversations or we bring things like this to the light, there's always going to be that part of us that is like, oh, but it's so hard. And like the French fries is easier. And that, blah, blah, blah. What would you say to that? Because I know you've got an answer for like that kind of response.
Well, with the French fries, I know it's like, well, nothing tastes as good as feeling good feels. I mean, that's the easy sentence, but I know it's still hard. And we have to love ourselves. It takes practice. The real issue is not food. It's something deeper. It's what are we trying to fill? And, that's why I created the program, and I don't need to share about it now, but it is hard. Learning, though, that you can for several weeks at a time, for instance, or maybe 1 week at a time, or even a weekend, and those things will still be there for us, but we have to learn temperance. We do have to learn patience, and just how much do you want happiness? What is that what is the value of that? What is the value of peace? What is the value of feeling good in a bikini and feeling confident when really loving yourself? It's like, just write the pros and cons and which is a bigger deal, and just know, like to practice discipline and diligence and restraint is something that we make our kids do. And so what is it that happens, why we stop? And then we kind of just let ourselves go. And then, yeah, like man doesn't die, we kill ourselves. We know that we shouldn't choose certain things, but we do anyway. And the food is, I think, an expression or like the cherry on top of what's actually going on inside, which is why the need for us to shift and reconnect and destroy that which is really the culprit, which is in the mind, is urgent. But there, there's many pathways of how to do it, and there are modalities. Meditation, for instance, is becoming very mainstream at the moment, and to not wait until you're in a hospital to start practicing it. Start now. Just pick a Sunday and go, okay, the next 3 weeks I'm gonna at least do something like that. I'm gonna sit quietly and just observe this part of me for 10 minutes. Anyway, that was a long answer to your short question, but I get it. I do get it.
Yeah, no, and I love it. I think it's actually the perfect moment to bring in your program, because I think that this is something that you're coaching people on regularly, is how to shift. And I love that you're bringing it into the small and simple pieces. And so anyways, yeah, talk a little bit about the
small and simple. I'll try to be small and simple.
No, it's great. You're good.
Just that, like, okay, I've been a little bit on vacation right now, and I am not a religious eater. I just want you to know that I don't judge other people for what they eat. I do think there are some spiritual karmas to eating pork. I'll just say that. I've never said that out loud publicly. But and I don't eat pigs, and I don't eat bottom feeders. Okay. But most of the time I do eat everything else. I have my cake. I like to eat it too. I love that I can have some French fries, and I'll eat fish. I'll sometimes eat lamb. Like, please, PETA, don't come after me. But the truth is it really doesn't serve me. Okay. So, and some people really need to eat animals for their sustenance. So I truly am not judging, that. Mm-hmm. However, for me, it's interesting because I've had a lot of stress in the last couple of months. As happy as I am, just wanting to say that there's been a lot going on, and I'm on this island, and I was eating more fish. You're on a beautiful island, and what I feel a little bit, I'm super sensitive, so I feel like the metal. I feel some heavy metals in my system right now. I feel like it's harder on my kidneys and my liver and my gallbladder. I can just feel it, and so. What kind of moving towards into the program, I would just say that I get why, we want to do something or have a basket of French fries by the pool, but taking a moment and saying, for the next 3 weeks, for the next 21 days, it takes 21 days to make and break a pattern. I am going to gradually eliminate the things that are clogging my system. And by the way, also our psychic or our mental system. So the things that are, and also in the program. And by the way, going back to what I said before, anything I've ever done, everything I've ever shared is because I need it for myself. And honestly, it's the most effective, quick pill that really works that you can take besides a pill. But you really can't take a pill for that because they don't really work and they don't change our patterns and our addiction. So here's the thing. What we do together is we start with usually a visualization of, what our dream body is, what it would feel like to receive maybe a partner or our job, or what all of that sort of emanation, or maybe you're in a partnership, and what would it feel like if you want more happiness in your relationship connection. Okay, so we want to visualize ourselves as that. Sometimes we will do a vision board or write our goals. It's really important to know where you're going in order to manifest that. And then everyone has their own customized version of what they would do. In a sentence, this is a 0-calorie restriction program where beauty and indulgence can coexist. So it's not about eating green, gunk for.
Will you repeat that? That was so profound. Like that, your sentence, stunning.
Oh, I should have said that in the beginning. But anyway, it's a 0-calorie restriction program where beauty and indulgence can coexist. So we can indulge, but it's the same thing with the other psyche aspects, actually. We can indulge, but we need to redirect what is, you keep using the word yummy to us, what is delicious to us. You know what? You can have incredible, satisfying comfort food and key lime pies and even vegan pizzas. Like we all need to educate ourselves that there is something between A to Z, and what are those? So like I've had some 1 through 10 sort of best to worst options. Like let's take ice cream, for example. And right now there's incredible coconut ice cream with like caramel fudge on it. And then if you can't get, coconut, maybe you try soy, which is a pretty good option. I don't digest soy great, but and then let's say and actually I have to almost step back in a second, but I'll finish this train of thought. Let's say you actually eat ice cream or yogurt. Maybe you do yogurt. Okay, like you're going to have to drink a glass of lemon juice. Now, in the program, in the actual 21 Day programs, we invite people to take a 3-week break from refined sugar, from chemicals. That's often very hard, from just because we don't realize what we're cleaning with. So that's a very important thing to look at, but you are being exposed to that. From animal products, and I'll go into animal products just a little bit, because animal products are the only place you'll find cholesterol. So for your body to really let go, it's important to find alternatives to animal products. Also fried foods and fast foods. So finding alternatives to those. Okay, so now I'll carry you just a little bit further. Also, ice cream is, even if you're eating it organic, it's just, even cows, they stop eating dairy at 9 months old and then they move on to grass. So I'm not saying you're going to change your diet forever. I call myself a flexitarian, which means I eat what makes me flexible. And I don't judge others. I don't judge myself if I am off. But I do this program 4 times a year or longer. Every time I need to be in front of the camera, every time I'm feeling like I've eaten too many French fries and I need to get it together, I go back into what I've learned from this program. And it's just about stopping to do what make us sick. We try to combine that which we're eating and say, you know what, the chocolate cake is going to be there 3 weeks from now. I'm going to have a vegan cake instead. And then, okay, there's a beginner's, intermediate, and advanced level, and then it also gets progressively more challenging. So let's say week 2, you might move a step further. Maybe you start eating all live foods. I know that's huge, but we want to give our bodies the life that it needs to do a break. And even if you say, because the ego never wants to change, so it's like, no, I need to eat steak and French fries for every meal for the rest of my life. Just observe, like, come on, even if you think you're going to die, we could do anything for 3 weeks. And this cleanse is like, it's not taking away any of your calories. It's just allowing you to find alternatives to things that are coagulating the bloodstream. The way that cleansing works is after the colon releases, then the organ system does. After the organ system does, the bloodstream does. After the bloodstream does, the lymph system does. So we are working on preventative medicine. We are working on giving our body a break. We're working on cleaning up the corridors that otherwise get just backed up. I'm looking at people all the time and they just have, dystentia or whatever the word is. Like their system is, fine. They might even be choosing to eat organic rice, but they haven't given their body a break from that which is harder to metabolize. So anyway, allow food to be thy medicine, and you can also combine that with, we do affirmations each day. We try to do a half an hour of some type of exercise. Maybe it's yoga, maybe it's swimming, and it's really nice to practice that. And I got to tell you, bringing this back to happiness now and ending my thank you for me.
I loved it. It was so good. Yeah.
Is that, I was a teenager and I was I think I was probably really allergic to wheat and dairy, but that's all I ate, was pizza and, chocolate chip cookies and ice cream bars. And it's like I was very moody and very depressed. You know what I mean? Not always depressed, but just you're on like a roller coaster. And later on, when really looking at my health, really looking at cleaning out my body, the effect that has on our minds and our happiness is so huge. When you start to not only feel good inside, internally, in the circulatory system of our body, the effect that has on the mind, the spirit, and even our jobs and every other aspect of our life. And we know that we cannot change anything outside of ourselves. So let's say you think you're not happy because your boss was rude to you, or your husband, or your wife, or your kids. But we can't change them. The only thing we can change is ourselves. So getting good at cultivating a practice, an internal practice that allows us to refine internally is where it's at. And that's really the only working pill that can shift ourselves, at least do it in the mind. You could do a version of it where you're like, well, my doctor says da 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 da, but at least for the 21 days, I am not going to have a single jealous thought or a single angry thought. I mean, at least I won't bring it into manifestation anyway. The point is we can always do something better than we are today, and maybe you won't be able to do it for the next 365 days of the year, 365 days ahead, but definitely you could do it for 21 days. So you can get my ebook on, Amazon. It just came out, and we have 35 new contributors from everyone from like Moby to Perry Reeves and my friend Rosanna Arquette. They all because really it's about not letting the mind of like, oh, I can't. It's so funny how we're like, but I don't want to change what I'm eating, and I don't want to change what I'm thinking, but how do I get happy?
I know.
So anyway, it's like, make it your own, like, customize it for you, but it is helpful to do it with someone. So whether it's myself or somebody else, we try to support you, that. And again, I love supporting people because I get the benefits of it too.
So much goodness. I honestly, as you were talking, like I should be a little bit more professional, but I'm actually like on Amazon, like looking at your book and everything too, because I love this concept, and I've been wanting to check it out anyways, but now I'm just like, oh, this is so good, Rainbeau, so good. I love it.
Thank you.
Yes, but oh my gosh, just such powerful, powerful concepts, and I think that one of the things that you really brought out there at the end that I would love to kind of circle back to and highlight is you were talking about how we can feel really good inside and how that affects how everything else on the outside really operates. But then how we just want to be happy, but we're not really willing to make those changes to have that happen. It's a really fascinating trap, right? That we get so easily stuck in. It's mind-blowing because we're like, yes, I want it, but am I really willing to do what it would take? And so, just pondering that a little bit more, and even thinking like, I know that in my own practice, in my own life, I've looked at that mind-body connection so much. And a lot of people come to me and want to talk about like how to take care of anxiety and depression, and really even mental illness, how to support the body and get rid of or heal or work with those things. And my answer is always, you have to start with nutrition. You just cannot do that without looking there. And so I love how you were bringing that in and weaving that in. And of course, if there's any other insights you'd like to add that have been sparked as I've been talking,
just baby steps. Just like my husband, for instance, we also lead the program 4 times a year because I notice that if I don't have an accountability partner, sometimes even paying for just that more support where you can ask questions 24/7 and the whole team is like, try this instead, or guys, I'm craving mashed potatoes. What do I do? And you're like, which by the way is acceptable on week 1. You're like, okay, I just did this cauliflower recipe and it really hits the spot. It's just nice to do things together. I think we are so much better together. But baby steps. Like I always have to remember, Quinn, as I talk to you, I often share about what I'm passionate about. And, I am not always in the same place as everyone else. And I want to be, I want to learn how to be, in a sense, just to talk to where someone is at in this moment. But if like the idea of just not eating French fries for 3 weeks is already a big step, like great, that's a step. If you're a smoker and that's just something you're not going to give up, and it's like, okay, at least choose organic, as filtered as possible. Then maybe, clove cigarettes. It's like just list the things that are the things that you don't feel like you can live without, but if you know it's bad for you, I think we all really know. Yeah. Like it's not really brain. We all know we could be eating more whole foods. We could be eating less processed foods, etc. We know that, and we don't always do it. So baby steps. What's something you could do until the patterns start to shift? It's important to change one negative pattern with a positive pattern. So if, let's say, you're a smoker, which I was, by the way, I was never like an avid smoker, but just, with my depression phases, even as a yoga teacher, I'd be like, well, this is organic and filtered, or whatever it was, menthol. And, with my yerba mate, at least I'm not drinking coffee. But at one point, if you start doing deep yoga, for instance, and you're coughing because you're opening these channels every time, you go, God, when am I going to just love myself enough to not want to put something back in it that kind of clouds my opening? So anyway, there's always something you could do. My husband has done it with us. He's never really joins the calls at this point, but he's like, okay, when's the next cleanse? Like every time. And I would say he does beginners sort of the whole 3 weeks through. Maybe not last time, but the time before. He really kind of clicked gears into the second week pretty well. He does week 1 beginners the whole way through. Still basically got off cholesterol medicine. So something that simple, and to even just looking at one thing. And we joke because he has a master's in tax. He's a major business manager, and I'm, me. And, my friends have to be like, Rainbow, you're just another piece of fruit. Like, at least he's always doing it. You're a bit of a spiritual warrior. You try to study the tax books. And I'm like, okay, you're right. All have our different things. So never be so hard on yourself where you're thinking, I can't, it's too much, I can't do it. That's the thing about all the yoga poses that look so extreme that people post. It's like, it's just boring to post a triangle pose, but it's all can be found in a triangle pose or standing. It's a meditation for people who can't stand still. It doesn't need to be more complex than that, but we do need to challenge ourselves a little bit more every day, hopefully, to just be a little bit better tomorrow than we were today for our own selves. And just keep, one step after another, move forward. I would hope, especially if we're not happy, for instance, or we're depressed, hopefully we are not in that space in another 2 years or in another year, but we need a map of how to get there, and to just kind of not know the steps and just go, okay, but I don't even know, let's say Alaska is happiness or Mexico is happiness. I need the map of where to go. And looking, when you want to look for a teacher or a guide or a support group, just find people that you feel that there is some sense of them walking the talk, that there is a level of accountability. I'm not going to go learn yoga, for instance, from, someone who hasn't even taken a teacher training, who might have a really great practice, and she looks really pretty. That might not be where I go. That's just me personally. But I would just say it is important to have it is helpful to have a guide. Like, you wouldn't go into it unless you're already an expert. But I have yoga teachers come to me. I have, Quinn, you're one of my guides right now, and in learning the whys and in business with doTERRA, and I love that about you. Thank you. So, you wouldn't take your car if you didn't know how to take it apart. You wouldn't try to do it. And I don't know why we do that. Anything that we haven't sort of mastered, it is helpful, and it's a good investment to get help. That's all. And get support.
Oh, so powerful. I love it. So why don't you just, I'd love for you to share some details for a minute, and then I have some more surprise questions for you for us to close out. But before we do that, so if you could just share, I know that everybody can head over to rainbowmarslifestyles.com, and then they can find the links to the 21 Days Superstar Cleanse book. And does that connect them also to the group and to the next cleanse, or when's that, and anything else that you'd like to share for people wanting to connect with you?
I haven't looked at the site in a second. I'm so grateful to have a team that's helping. But yeah, I think that our service-orientated things are on Rainbow Mars Lifestyles. Remember, it's with Lifestyles with an S, and my name is spelled Rainbeau. And we have, yoga videos. We have teacher trainings. I'm going to do a retreat. We also have, of course, the ebook. We also have the hard book. I'm a person that likes a book in front of me because at least it's like a little more real. I don't think I would engage much on a cleanse, to be honest, with an ebook, but it's really nice that it's there and it's cheaper and you don't have to pay for shipping. And it's more updated, honestly, a little more than the actual book. So, it's just helpful to get those reminders. We're all so distracted. We're all busy. I have a book next to my bed right now that my teacher is having me read, and I haven't read it yet, but at least it's by the book. That's, at least it's by my bed, and I'm probably gonna, now that I'm saying it, hopefully today I'm gonna like, dig into it. So it's like making yourself accountable, and as you know, writing down a list of goals and actually committing to that, because if you don't write it down, it's really easy to not be accountable. So, or you could, do that thing, jump in and say, okay, starting this Sunday, if you are gonna do the ebook, for instance, like starting this Sunday, I'm gonna get a friend, we're gonna do it together, we're gonna go shopping on Sunday, on Monday it begins, so helpful. Yeah, that answers all your questions, hopefully.
No, it's so good. And then just for like the next, when you do it with the group and everything, do you
That's
know when
there.
that will
I
be?
don't know if dates are posted yet, but we do it 4 times a year.
Okay.
And you'll notice it'll probably be like right before or after a holiday. We try not to be like, yes, right in the middle of Christmas. Or there'll be like a New Year's one, I know, and there'll be one probably right before Thanksgiving. I find that my organ system gets so healthy that I can, eat, have an amazing feast and kind of feel good about it. So it's not something that you have to do every day. It's just important to just like deep cleaning your house. If you never did it, it just gets gross. So just like do it, take care of the temple. You only get one. We don't get to, change it if it gets out of control. So
Oh, I love, love, love it. Rainbow, this has been so dang fun and enlightening and inspiring. I love talking with you about this and love your passion. So it's just been an absolute joy. I love it.
thank you. Me too.
Yay. Okay, so to wrap it up, I'm so excited. This is one of my favorite parts of when I get to do interviews, but I'm going to do some rapid fire questions. So this is just like the first things that come to mind.
Yeah.
So we're looking for, here again, your flavor of joy, but it's going to be in a few different areas. So the first area is, what does joy look like with friends? Like
Laughing.
Laughing. Oh, I love it. Anything else? Like whatever, you can give a few things, like whatever activities or something you love to do with friends.
Freedom, kind of pushing each other to do things that we might not do when we're alone. I'm a little worried about my daughter because she's definitely mine. And I'll be like, I dare you to run down the hallway and knock on 3 doors. I don't mean to be a bad. And and I'm like, Jade, you weren't supposed to do that. And she's like, you dared me. Sorry. We obviously, Quinn, I'm sure you don't do that anymore, but. And I don't
No,
know if
I'm
I would,
sure I
but
do.
it's funny how when you get a little beyond your comfort zone, there's that thrill. So I live on the edge a little bit. We
Love
just
it.
swam with turtles, we surfed, I'll do headstands on surfboards, little things that I'm not perfect at, but I'm going to always try to go to the next level. That feels like fun with friends to me. So
That's so fun. And I'm like picturing headstand on a surfboard right now. And I'm like, how does that not tip? That's amazing.
I'm
So,
trying.
so
I'm
good.
trying. Why? That's just sound. But like it could be anything. Also, horseback
Yeah.
riding, dancing, listening. I don't want it to be so. I love listening to friends, getting together, eating. So there's many things.
I love it. Okay. Joy in your family and your marriage could be included in that as
Oh
well.
yeah. I clearly joy in the family is we always do something called Rose and Thorn every night. So it's about presents. So whenever we do dinner, we try to pray before we eat all the time. I think that's one of my most joyful moments. I'm like, oh, we disconnected from the world. We gave a blessing, and we always talk about each other's rose and thorns of the day. And the rose is like the highlight. The thorn is the thing you could have lived without. We've started adding stems, which is the thing that's neutral. So that's really sweet with them. And
I love it.
we all balance each other out.
Oh, I love it so much. Okay. How about joy with God?
Um, Joy with God is just remembering that it's always there. It's inside my heart. And sometimes I get like, oh God, I'm stressed, I'm anxious. Definitely that's been a lifelong thing I've been working with. And to realize that all I have to do is meditate. I do something like called sublimation, which you practice these 9 Christic breaths, drawing the energy up from the floor of your body to the heart, and enter into inviting God in my heart to help me remove any shadow seeds or roots of that which is making me sick, that which is the detriment of the day or the week. And you know, we go into a temple of water and then into a temple of fire. This can take 20 minutes, it can take an hour. And it's just so nice to know that wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, that connection is there. It's amazing.
I love it. And your final piece, joy with yourself.
Joy with myself is to know that all things are possible from the inner work, and that there's really no thing outside of myself that is more powerful than the connection that I receive when I'm in my heart and when I am connected into gravity and into the mother and father, which are inside. So I'm grateful for this at all times. And I'm grateful to always be able to return to it, and that no one can ever take that from me.
Oh, man. I love it. Thank you, Rainbeau. Oh, this has been just a delight and a joy to have you on, and I'm grateful for everything that you've shared, and especially for you sharing your heart with us today. So thank you so much for coming on and bringing your full presence and heart to this conversation.
Thank you so much for having me, and ditto. And what a wonderful conversation for you to be sharing and leading us all into and inspiring. And I hope that a lot of people listen to you the more that you continue to share with the world, because you're awesome.
Aww, I adore you. Thank you, Rainbeau. Man, well, for those of you that are listening that want to get to know Rainbeau more and connect with her, be sure to check out rainbowmarslifestyles.com. I'll post all the links and a couple of the references to things mentioned in this show on my website at quincurtis.com. And meanwhile, we just are so grateful to each of you who have listened and shared your heart with this conversation as well. And we're cheering you on and sending you so much love in your path and your practice in joyful living. So much love, and bye for now. And in the end, only love will last. You've been listening to Joyful Living. If you haven't already done so, be sure to email me at quinn@joyfullivingmovement.com so I can send you our yummy Joyful Living welcome package filled with lots of awesomeness, including access to our private Joyful Living network. I read every email from my listeners and would love to hear from you. Also, be sure to leave a review on iTunes, and most importantly, have a joy-filled day.